Hello and welcome to another episode of my modded Minecraft Skyblock series. I'm not actually ready to quite start the episode yet, but I thought you'd be interested to see what happens when the sludge builds up and my harvester can no longer keep up with the trees. You get this. It's a fairly solid cube of wood, quite a large size. So it's a little bit interesting in here. I'm not sure whether that's the harvester can't keep up at all, or whether it's just once it fills up with sludge, because if you take all the sludge out of it, it does then begin to speed up again and start to chop it down. But that definitely means we need to get something done there. Now, the plan I'm thinking is a drum. So this holds 256 buckets, which should buy us some time at least anyway. It's pretty easy, just a bunch of iron, which we can get fairly quickly. I don't know how much is in a coal doing. So there's what, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7 in there. 10, 13. These are 2 each, so 17 iron all told isn't too bad. Main problem at the moment is that this chest here isn't big enough. It's completely full of stuff, and especially since I've now just turned on this little feedback loop that pulverizes the ore dusts, everything is ending up in here apart from the glowstone. So this definitely needs to be a bit of a higher capacity chest, and to do that, I think, let me eat some apples here quickly. I think we're going to try and make it into, and I've got this worked out on a piece of paper somewhere, an iron chest. I worked out the upgrade path because we've got iron chests, the mod, so we can get eventually diamond chests, which are huge. But you can see you can make the diamond one out of a gold chest or a silver chest with different amounts of diamonds. So I had to kind of work backwards through the tree. You know, gold is iron or silver. And I think the way I'm going to do it is to start off with iron chests. So normally that would be 8 pieces of iron around a chest, but there's actually a way to upgrade them in place. What you do is you get your iron, which I've pre-prepared here, and you wrap it around some oak planks. And instead of making a chest, if you put a chest in the middle, it makes an upgrade instead. We can take that, and if we mosey on over to our chest here, slap it on like that, and we got double the size in the same amount of space. Very cool mod, very nice mod, quite balanced as well. It does take a few diamonds to make the diamond chests, but they are enormous, and that should be enough, I think, to hold everything we want for the moment. So, I'm going to get together some more iron, seeing as I've just used most of it to do that chest. I will prepare a drum, and we'll work from there. I think we thought we might make an aqueous accumulator so that we can keep our engine over here stocked with fuel all the time. And I guess we'll wire this charcoal line directly into the engine. So perhaps we'll move the leadstone energy cell up one and put the engine below it instead. But we'll see. I also need to find somewhere to hide the aqueous accumulator, so we'll work on that too. So I'll see you in a few minutes. I'll get the iron together, and we'll see how long a drum is going to last. Hopefully, at least an episode or two, so that we can figure out what we're going to do. Otherwise, I guess we could just make a lot of drums, but it's going to get a bit wasteful after a while. I'll catch you in a few minutes. It's very nice to have a good solid supply of iron coming in. Look at that, 27 more ingots, and that's just what I pulled out of the machine. With no effort at all on my part. Dumb? No, not dumb. Drum. There we go. Okay, how can we make this fairly quickly? A cauldron, a couple of the weighted pressure plates, and we are going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, another 4 pieces of iron, which is exactly what we've just got, and that's a drum. So, this will delay our sludge problem somewhat. It's filling up fairly quickly, but 256 buckets does take a while. So let's let that rock and roll. This is going absolutely mad. We've got loads of charcoal in here. Some oak wood being processed pretty much all the time. Plus, in our chests, we've built up a good stack and a half of charcoal, and I've been using it as well. And we've also got all of this spare wood, apples, and saplings. So this thing is way out of control, and we definitely should start to grow some crops in it, I think, before too long. Before that, though, I think we want to fix our water problem. To that end, I've built this little extension out the back here, and we would quite like to get together an aqueous accumulator. So pretty easy. Just going to need another one of those machine frames, so I guess, we're going to have to bulk produce all of that. Unfortunately, most of the components are still in powder form, so I'll have to get back to you on that one. Won't take me long to put together. And then I think next up will be a redstone furnace, which will run off our power system instead of us having to feed charcoal into it. We could even maybe think about eventually feeding some of the stuff in this iron chest out and turning it into ingots through the furnace, but I don't know how I feel about that. I might prefer just to keep the dusts in case we want to combine them and stuff like that. But so that's the plan for the beginning of this episode, and then I think we're going to take a look and see what we can do about prettying up these pipes, because just having them sitting in the floor like this is a little bit ugly. So I'm told there's new stuff in Thermal Dynamics, which is the mod that provides these pipes, and we'll take a look at it. But I'll be back with you once I've gathered the pieces for an aqueous accumulator. Hello and welcome to episode 9 of my modded Minecraft Skyblock series. Got a couple of problems I'd like to take care of this episode, but I'm not quite ready to move on those just yet. Primarily the fact that this harvester is filling up with sludge and we're having to keep dumping it out with a bucket. The fact that all of these trees keep building up and we can't chop them down fast enough, so we end up with this massive lump of leaves and wood. But mainly, this chest over here, this one, which contains basically all of the products of this whole machine, is too small. Even if we devote one space per item that we're likely to get, we've got more different items moving through the system that can even fit in the chest at once. Especially now that there's only glowstone left over here, and everything else, the ore dusts, goes straight up through the pulverizer and gets turned into these pulverized metals. So what we really want to do is upgrade this chest, and we can actually do that in place because we've got the mod Iron Chest, which adds all of these different types of chests. And basically the more expensive they are, the larger they get. There's sort of two paths you can take. You can start with copper, you can start with iron, then you go to silver or gold, but eventually you end up at Diamond Chest, which is the largest. There's also Crystal Chest, which is one that lets you see inside. There's Dirt Chest, but that's just really, really small, and I think it only actually takes dirt, which is a bit of a weird one. There's also these upgrades, though, and these go in place, so you don't have to take everything out of this, put it somewhere else, put the new chest in. You can just apply it straight, and it'll turn it into an upgraded version. So what we want to do is take one plank, surround it with iron, and that'll give us a wood to iron chest upgrade, which should deal with that problem quite effectively. Pop that on there, so we can see we've got twice as much space, didn't have to move anything, all the items are still inside, and it works perfectly with all of these ducts still. So that's very nice. What I'm going to do now is let this build up a bit, keep everything running, so we're out of fuel on the dynamo at the moment, but I'll feed that all in and get that going again. And once I've got a really good amount of metals and stuff like that, and everything we're going to need to do the episode, I'm going to tackle some of those other problems. What I would really like to do, and it's only cosmetic, but I would really like to get this item duct covered up or disguised in some fashion. And I think there's probably something in Thermal Dynamics, which is the pipe mod, that should handle that very nicely. But I'll be back once I've got a few bits and pieces together. I've just noticed something. All my apple trees are missing from the back here. I guess these trees that grew must have connected over and the harvesters chopped them all down. So I would like to have a few trees somewhere, but I guess we're going to have to move them a bit close to the operation we've got going on here. So you might notice that we're missing saplings out of these corner 3x3 areas, and that's because, well, they haven't all quite gone yet, but that's because I adjusted what we've got going on under here. So now we're only planting oak saplings in these four, they're not quite quadrants, but if you know what I mean. So eventually the middle will be cleared as well. Let's help that along. So that's kind of the final setup, I think. This is to the point now where the harvester is working almost constantly, and that does give us 5 spaces to grow different things. So let's get that planted up with some different crops. Actually, we don't need to hoe. I think the planter will hoe for us. All we need to do is decide what we're going to grow. So obviously potatoes, carrots. I think figs are a tree. We can definitely do seeds to get wheat. Have we not got any just seeds straight? Oh, we have. Of course we have. They're in here. Cactus, cocoa beans, grass. There we go. Normal seeds. 16 as well. Perfect. I don't think there's anything else we can really grow. Perhaps we could do melons and pumpkins somehow. I don't know how they work in a planter. But what we're going to do then is the whole loop which takes the produce and feeds it back in should work just the same as it does for the saplings, so we don't have to worry about that. All we need to do is configure this. So let's plant, I guess, ordinary seeds in the middle. We'll put those in. We'll do carrots this side, and we'll do potatoes this side. So that's black and purple, which is the nearer ones to the Skyblock platform we generally work on. So that's cool. Pop a bit of dirt back on top there. And that should, yeah, it is. It's hoeing and planting and doing lovely. Now, the only other thing we might want to do is, now this is the perfect size for a piece of water to be in the middle, right? So actually, let's not plant that. Let's put water on the top of that. And that should actually have the advantage as well of allowing us to reach under the water, get to the planter, and tweak things if we need to. Perfect. So, while I was gone, I also managed to smelt up a bunch of stuff. I've got some glass cooking at the moment, just because we'll probably need it later, and sand is no longer a problem since our system produces it. But I made all of these ingots, so we can get cracking on making some really cool machinery. What else? Oh, one final thing. I made another one of these hardened portable tanks, exactly the same as the last one. So that one is for water, which keeps this system stocked. I'll definitely want to get an aqueous accumulator together, probably today. But there's another one on top of the harvester. That's just taking the sludge. So I'm not doing anything with the sludge at the moment. I've just been dumping it into the hole. But at least we can let it buffer up for a lot longer before we have to deal with it each time. So I think it's probably time for me to just get my inventory sorted out a bit, get a few bits and pieces together, and we'll make an aqueous accumulator and hopefully recable this steam dynamo, so that it should receive its water and the charcoal that goes into this chest automatically. We won't have to do anything manually with it anymore. I'm kind of wondering, we may still have too many tree growing spaces. I might prefer it if the sort of resting state was that there were no trees grown and it just chopped them down straight away as soon as they grew. I don't really like having them kicking about, especially like this, where we've got a sapling planted underneath another tree. I mean, there's no point in that. See, that other tree over there just grew, and it basically did nothing. It just overwrote a bunch of leaves and other bits and pieces. So, not really much point growing them into these big blocks. So perhaps we'll devote another space to wheat or something like that. But for now, I've got an inventory full of crafting ingredients, which, with a bit of judicious use of the shift crafting functionality, we should be able to turn into an aqueous accumulator in fairly short order. Let's click our way through to a normal machine frame, get the gear that we need. That's basically everything, right? We just need a bucket. And we can take that out of the corners, and we've got ourselves an aqueous accumulator. So, that's great. I've got somewhere around some fluiduct, I think. Yep. Really easy to make this stuff. Just copper either side of lead. There's a version where you can see into it as well, but considering this is only going to be transporting water, and it should be full all the time, I don't think we need to be able to see. Now I need somewhere to put this aqueous accumulator, and it does need water source blocks on either side of it. So for example, that in there is a perfect location for it. It's got one here, and you see it's filling up pretty rapidly with water. However, I'd prefer it if it was a little bit more hidden away. So let's maybe dig our way through this back wall here. And think about running maybe a fluiduct in like the bottom here somewhere or other. So what we need is just a little bit of space out the back. Let's go find some cobblestone. Another resource that we have effectively an infinite amount of now, which is really nice. And very, very carefully, we'll build out just a little bit... Uh-oh. I didn't put a piece underneath that, did I? Nope. Build out a little bit more platform and put the aqueous accumulator somewhere in here. So let's say that we're going to have the accumulator here. We want a water source block to one side. A water source block to the other side. And then I suppose we'd better come out one further this way, just to round it off nicely. So no one should ever see this really, but we might as well do it properly. So if we ever have to do any maintenance or fix it or something, I am, if you can't tell, really very scared about being up here. Okay, done. So accumulator goes in the hole. We can configure it so that only the top is an output. We'll steal a couple of buckets of water out of this tank here to get things started. And that should be about that. Great. In actual fact, we don't want it to come out the top, do we? We want it to come out the back, which is that one. There we go. So there's a little blip of water there as it filled this piece of pipe up. And now what we really need to do is make sure this is lit so we don't get mobs spawning on it. Maybe we can do it like that. And then we can wall it away and worry about what's on this side of the wall instead. So I think the general plan is we'll keep this charcoal line coming in here. We'll take this chest out, and we'd like the charcoal to be deposited straight into the dynamo. Ooh, that's weird. We can see inside it. Let's take that off for the moment. I should have some more item duct somewhere. I hope I've got at least one more piece. And I think what we'll do is take the dynamo out of here and the leadstone energy cell and swap them around. So we'll put the energy cell above. We shouldn't need this tank anymore, so we can use that for something else. The dynamo can go underneath. Ah, it's connected to the wrong side. Can we rotate it? We can, just right click. But it won't connect. Is that because this is not set up to receive on the bottom? It's not. So we'll take the input off the top, put it on the bottom instead. Now we should be able to rotate this into place. Great, and it should have already connected to that piece of fluid duct behind there, so the water's filled up. And with one more piece of item duct, we can just pipe this straight into the bottom of the dynamo. Let's check our tools chest. We have one piece. Great. That's all we need. So we'll pop that on there, put a filter on it, same as before. And whitelist charcoal. That should take care of that. We can actually probably fill this bit in as well. Have I got some more of that cobblestone kicking around somewhere? Is this with panel? No, this is the panel stuff. It's this one. Huge cobblestone tile. No need for that anymore. Oh, we need to connect up here. So let's get some more leadstone flux duct if we've got some. We have, just two pieces should do. So that goes that way and that way. And we should see charcoal flowing down here, but let's just kickstart it with a half stack. And away it goes. So water is no longer a problem. As long as charcoal keeps flowing down this pipe, which it certainly should do, this will all stay powered, and our goodness will just build up in this chest. We've already got 49 iron ingots effectively there, which is really cool. A couple of diamonds. It's all building up. So we'll pop this charcoal away for a rainy day. We are building up some wood as well. I guess the redstone furnace isn't quite fast enough. We could maybe look into upgrading that at some point. Loads of apples, loads of saplings, so we better find something to do with those as well. But for now, I think we can call that system pretty much complete. Now, the one final thing I might like to do is find a way of limiting the amount of power which can flow down this cable into this machine, because this will eat everything we can throw at it. It requires more than the dynamo can put out to work at maximum efficiency. So we should maybe find some way of restricting it so we've got a little bit of power to send to our personal machines over here, which I do need occasionally. So for now, I think it's probably time we dealt with the fact that all of these item ducts are just exposed. And I have a plan. It's something they've just added in thermodynamics. So as I understand it, they used to support, what was it called? Forge Multipart, which we might actually have. Multipart. That's strange. Oh, Applied Energistics has a thing called a multipart. Okay, we don't have more Forge Multipart, but that's fine. So that used to be able to make like covers and hollow covers that you could pass pipe through. Other bits, you know, you could make like sort of 3/4 blocks and build your own sort of stairs out of pieces. It was really cool, but very hard to support. So thermodynamics has its own version now, which is called something like structural duct. That's the one. Very easy to make. Iron either side of lead. We've got some iron nuggets, I think. We've definitely got lead. Let's pop that together. So I think in its raw form, this can be used just to, just to make sort of fake piping. So it doesn't do anything. It doesn't carry anything. It's just structure. But if we combine it with a block, so say for example this green stained clay that we're using as a flooring material, we get covers, 6 per, which is really nice. And this fits neatly over the top of other pipes to just cover them up without getting in the way. That's perfect. You can't even tell the difference. And we'll work our way all the way back to here. Now I wonder about hollow ones. Oh yeah, it looks like there's a gap in the middle of that. So if we get that in just the right place. Oh, perfect. It lets the pipe through exactly. But there's no gap, which is really nice. We just need maybe one more piece of stained clay to finish that off. We'll pop that. How did we do this? About there. And it'd be really nice if we could get a piece in there as well. How are we going to do that? Perhaps if I remove this from here for the moment so that we can get the cover in. Like so. And then we can put our cobblestone back in place. So that's perfect. That's completely covered over now. Which tidies things up no end. Although, actually, thinking about it, that's kind of the wrong cover, isn't it? How do we get this out? Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that did work, but I'd rather not take the pipes out. I'm guessing you can take the covers off with a wrench. You can, but it breaks everything. Fair enough. Not the biggest problem in the world. My only concern is, what about these things where we have a connected texture going on? I'm guessing the texture won't connect across. So if, for example, we put this in here as we'd like it, and then put the large cobblestone tile next to it. Ah, see, that is a slight problem. We do get a little bit of a break in the texture. You see, it's not continuous across. There's the lines on the borders. But, I mean, small things. Plus, we can probably just pick our blocks a bit better so that they don't have visible seams if we're really worried about that. But that's better than a hole through the bottom of the skyblock anyway. So what I'm going to do, I think, is work on covering all of this up. I might have to choose a new flooring material so that we can put pipes underneath it without it having loads of breaks in it. Although, actually, now that's strange. So the connected texture works on the covers, but it doesn't connect to the cobblestone tiles. How interesting. Let me have a play around with that, come up with something that looks half decent, and I'll be back. But for the moment, I'm exceedingly happy with how this is all turning out. So this looks perfect now. There's stuff flowing under here. We've got as much power as we can use for now. And all of this is just automatic and running continuously. Very happy. So I'll be back once I've sorted this floor out, and we'll talk about what we're going to do after that. What do you think of that? I like the idea of having a glass cover over the pipe, but we can't see items moving through the pipe yet because the item duct, which you can see through, I think is a bit more expensive than we'd like. Yeah, it takes this hardened glass, which we'll get to in a later episode. So without that, I'm wondering if a solid flooring would be the way to go. I kind of like that you can't tell that there's a pipe running under here. It's cool that everything just happens and we don't have to worry about the fact that there's all this stuff flowing around and things going on. I've already gone for a solid block in stone bricks here, so you can't tell that there's a difference between the covers and the bricks, which is very nice. I was having problems with the other edging block we were using because you can't micro block it, unfortunately. I'm also slightly disappointed because you can't make this large white stone brick into covers either, which may be a problem. But to be honest, I have an idea in mind for a kind of building style that we're going to go with. Well, I mean, first of all, we'd like to get a roof on here, but In general, I might go for a slightly different look to this anyway. So assuming that those kind of blocks can be turned into covers will be okay. So I'm going to swap out for something here. Maybe concrete is what I was thinking. It's a pretty good looking block. Makes a fairly nice flooring material. Oh, yes. Concrete makes you walk really fast on it. I don't... I don't know whether I want that, do I? Tricky. It does look really good when you chisel it as well, if I remember correctly. Let's have a quick look at chiseled concrete. We'll just do one piece. Yeah, there's a lovely dark one. Oh, asphalt as well. That's a weird looking block, but they all give you this little speed boost. Perhaps I'll have a cast around and see if I can't find something else. Give me a few minutes, and I'll go with some other decoration through the middle here. But I think that's a good idea for a later time, once we've got something we'd actually like to show off. It's just a shame that there's nothing really happening with these pipes at the moment. I find it really cool how when you disconnect them, there's nothing going on here, but as soon as you put a pipe down, it hooks straight back up through the cover. And again on the other side. So I'll be right back. It's a shame because it's not quite as fancy as it was before, but I think I'm actually just going to go with straight stone for this flooring for the moment. I've put a piece of, what is it, stone brick cover behind there. You can't really see it. As I said, unfortunately this white stone brick doesn't turn into covers. And here's one other just little interesting interaction. So you'll notice there's nothing in these sieves. And the items are getting pulled out of them through these pipes. But because there's no pipe on the other side, you don't get a hole through the middle of the cover. Isn't that interesting? So that's totally hidden. If I just get 2 bits of stone, which I should have around somewhere, exactly 2 in fact, you couldn't even tell there's pipes under there. How cool is that? I'm sure there's a way to make that even more interesting, although I suppose there's not many things like the sieve where you can kind of see through them to the pipes that are underneath. But that's that completely all together, so you can't tell at all that there's a bunch of piping running under here. Next episode, I think we're going to have to find a way of getting rid of some of these oak saplings. Apples I've been chucking in this barrel over here. I'm not really sure if we need so many apples, but we might as well save them because they could be handy. But that's basically putting a pin in this entire build. Other than the fact that we need to get rid of sludge. And I say get rid of, really what I mean is deal with temporarily and then work from there. So as a final act to this episode, let's make a drum, which will store 256 buckets, which will buy us at least 10 minutes. Or perhaps a little bit longer, I'm hoping. Not long. But, I mean, maybe there's a machine we can make that'll empty a drum and just void the contents. I don't really want the sludge necessarily. Let's crack that on there. Oh, no, I filled it up. There we go. So, oh dear. Look at that filling up. I mean, I know it's because it was chopping a bunch of trees really quickly, but still, it's a bit mad. I did try making, and it's around here somewhere, a trash can. This is a pretty simple block. You just take something you want to get rid of. So I'll use some saplings, since we've got tons of them. And you just pop them in, and they're gone. You can run pipes into it, you can put hoppers on it, however you want to move your items in there. It doesn't support fluids, unfortunately. I did try that out earlier. So I don't know what we can really do with the sludge. I guess we might just have to start processing it, which is fine. What we need is a power hookup. Don't think it needs to be a huge quantity of power either. Somewhere well away from everything else, because as we said before, the sludge boiler, which is what we'd need, and by the way, produces a very interesting set of items. You can get all sorts out of a sludge boiler, but it does cause you to get very hungry and get nausea when you're near it and it's working. So I'll take a think about that. I'll keep an eye on the trees here. I'm still debating turning one more of these sections into some sort of crop growing. But I duplicated the crops here, so there's carrots on both sides now, potatoes on both sides and wheat in the middle. What I might even do is swap some of this out so that this is sugarcane instead. I think the harvester is capable of dealing with sugarcane. And we could produce that as a resource too. I don't know if that's necessary, but why not? You know, you never know. perhaps we'll need a bunch of paper at some point in the future. But until then, it's been wonderful. I'm very glad this is all sorted out and that I never have to top this dynamo up with water or charcoal ever again. I'm likewise glad that the sludge won't be a problem for a little while anyway. And I guess we can just keep paying 13 iron, or however much it is every time, just to build a new drum. It's not like we're short on iron. I mean, last time I checked in this chest, we've got... how much? A stack and a half already ready. In fact, we may have to go for another chest upgrade. But that will all be a future episode, and I will catch you in the next one.